Yeah, how do you feel about AI?
It is here and it is not going anywhere.
What tricks or tips could you give for the users?
How do we actually use this thing where it's at right now? I think the key is you're going to get 99% of the way there.
Their head will probably explode and be like, what are you talking about? That could increase their lead generation and, more importantly, their sales.
That is going to be something that's truly going to pay off in the future. So all right, hey there, and welcome back to the Modern Marketing Podcast, joined as always by Super Dave. How you doing there, Dave?
Yeah, all good. And I'm excited for this episode, actually, because it's a super hot topic and has been for, it might even be 2 years now. It seems to be the main topic of the marketing world, and that is all things AI. So, yeah, let's dive into it. So what's your take on AI? And I know when it came out, I was like pretty blown away, and there's been a lot of cool things come from it. But yeah, how do you feel about AI?
Yeah, AI's nifty, and it is something that people ask a lot of questions about. Hopefully, just from a business and marketing perspective. Because granted, I'm not a technologist by nature, or not an engineer either. So my understanding of it is pretty limited, essentially to the practical and actionable implementations that we can use as business owners. So it's interesting to watch it and to see it evolve. I agree. Yeah, I think ChatGPT came out in 2022, which is when again, AI being this massive world, artificial intelligence, so many different kinds of AI and all these different things. What we're typically talking about is generative AI, language-based models, using ChatGPT. How do we use it to create content? How do we use it to do all kinds of other stuff? But truly fascinating. So my take on it generally, and then obviously we can dive into the specifics, is fascinating. I think it's increasing at and getting better at an unbelievably alarming rate, which isn't a bad thing. It's getting so much faster and better and smarter. And it's also making us think that it's faster and better and smarter, which is kind of cool too. And the real power is not even in the AI, but in the people that will be able to harness AI. And whether it's good or bad is kind of a moot point. It doesn't matter. It is here and it is not going anywhere. And so the real question is, how do we use this? How do we leverage it so that it can actually help us get more done in less time and live better lives and make more money and provide world peace and all the good things it promises?
Yeah, it is really here to stay. And I think there was a stat where it's like ChatGPT almost came out of nowhere, and we were all a bit sleeping on it, and we're like, well, what's this thing? But it's been in the works for 10 years, and companies and Microsoft and Google have been using AI for quite some time now. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came out of nowhere. I think it was something to do with Elon Musk was part of it, and then they basically were don't go to market with it, but OpenAI had to come to market, and then all of a sudden we got access to this amazing kind of piece of software that we could use to ask it anything, and everyone was a bit scared and were like, it's going to kill us, it's going to take over the world. But that's probably a story for another podcast. But
what's interesting about sort of ChatGPT, and the reason that it sort of gained mainstream popularity, is that it made it more approachable to the everyday person. So it's AI, artificial intelligence. It's not a new concept. We've been dabbling with this idea of robots and how do we get them to do smart things and think for us and all of that. But it was only when it kind of presented itself in a natural language pattern. So you could have what looked like a conversation. And now with where OpenAI is going, I don't know if you've seen the videos lately. It's a dude having a chat with his phone, and then he's please describe what I'm wearing, and it's oh, you appear to be in an industrial office, and whatever it is. And it's weird and it's funny, but it's also creepy as hell because it's relatively accurate and it's doing a good job. So yes, anyway, when ChatGPT came out and it sort of got launched to the world, it made it more accessible. What's fascinating to me from, say, a business perspective is that the amount of computational power that it takes to run a ChatGPT search is 10 times larger than to run a Google search. So what ends up happening now, and again, this is again, like you said, a conversation for another day, is that sort of the resources of the future are going to be shifting more towards computational power, because this takes a lot of energy to draw. Every time we're doing it, it's combing through all of these old archives, and it's looking through all this old data, and it's putting this all together, and it's trying to think through it, and it's just chewing up bandwidth. But yeah, fascinating stuff. Certainly fun to play with, and obviously has some very real and practical business applications as well.
Yeah, I think when it first came out, I was like, what do I even ask this? Like, what do I
Yeah.
even put into ChatGPT? I was just asking it like random questions. So like showing my friends. I remember I was showing my friends on a ski trip because they were
Yeah.
like, they hadn't ever heard of it. And obviously
Yeah.
being in the online marketing world, like we kind of saw it and then it swept our Facebook feeds, swept our YouTube feeds. And we're like, oh, okay. So then, it started to kind of make waves into kind of the overall society. So I was just showing, putting in silly things and asking it questions. But then I started to think like, how do I actually harness this? Like, how can I
Yeah.
use it in my business day to day? So, yeah, I think from maybe like an agency's perspective, from a business perspective, like how do you use ChatGPT? Like what tricks or tips could you give for the users? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting too because like actually I was listening to a podcast this morning. I think it was Scott Galloway for sure. I'm trying to remember who he was talking to. I think it was Ryan Holiday. And they were talking about like obviously ChatGPT and AI and the future of education. And Scott's premise, which I wholeheartedly agree with, was that like we shouldn't be training kids how to write like ChatGPT prompts.
Can you
Just
imagine if
because
we
that's
had
like,
that when we're at school though? Like, can you imagine the
oh
the
man, it would have
essays
been
and the homework?
would have been amazing. I'm like totally dating myself, like being this old man born in the 80s. But I remember in like grade 6, I wasn't allowed to use the internet because it was like it's full of lies and whatever. I had to go to the library and like get citations for books. So yeah, no, it would have been a game changer. There's also they're trying to like deal with plagiarism and things like that, but it's unbelievably easy to beat. I did a quick section in a video once where I took ChatGPT stuff, made a few tweaks, and I'm like, hey, can you write this so it would beat a plagiarism checker? And then I went to the plagiarism checker and I went to the school check and it like passed all of them with just a few minor tweaks. So yes, you definitely have to get ahead. But regardless, I think the skill is here, and like what Scott Galloway was talking about was we can't just like teach kids how to write simple prompts because that's going to become an outdated skill like ridiculously fast. Like what we need to do is we need to train people how to become sort of synthesizers where they're able to collect information from a number of different sources. We're able to process it through our own views and experiences. We're then able to communicate and articulate it and come up with like actual real world situations. And then of course, I think the defining characteristic here and the variable that's going to mess all this up for everybody is human behavior. It's like we're gonna always act like people. It doesn't matter what the robots tell us to do. Health and fitness, good example. It's like we already know what we need to do to eat healthy and to work out more and to do all these things. It's like this is not rocket science. And yet, if you look at the world's population, it's like increasing sickness and increasing obesity rates. Like that's not the problem. Behavior changes the problem. So rant over. How do we actually use this thing where it's at right now? I think the key is to number one, we got to be strategic about what we even want to do. That's it. So a lot of people sit down to ChatGPT very much like you and I did in the early days. We're like, hey, tell me a joke. Do this thing. Like, I don't know, random useless stuff. And it spit some stuff out and we all had a chuckle and it was like, this is pretty cool, but totally useless. So what we've got to figure out is, well, what are we trying to achieve with our business? We kind of have to go through like the steps of the marketing master plan. So it's like, what's our business model? Who's our target market? What's the message? Where's the media sources? What kind of funnel are we going to put all into this? Then we can use ChatGPT and Midjourney and all the other tools that are coming out in order to create strategic, relevant content for what we want. That's really it. So it's like, if you wanted to do market research, it will. But what kind of market research? What do you want it to do? What do you want it to know? And I mean, it can provide you prompts and suggestions, but like that fundamental basic knowledge, I think is still important to have.
Yeah, I think you've got to be very specific with it. What I've found really good use for is when I've already got something that I'm working with. So let's take like a YouTube script or a YouTube description, and I'm like, hey, can you create some like variations of this? Because I think sometimes you get stuck in your own words and you can't tweak the descriptions enough. So that's really helped me. And then same with like if you're running a obviously advertising agency, say you're doing Facebook ads or YouTube ads or Google ads, like it can create variations of already your winning ads, and then you can
Yeah.
use it to test, which I find amazing because back in the day we'd literally get I mean, you might have got pen and paper, but I use Google Docs, but Google Docs and just like write 10 pieces of copy, and it could take me like a day, and then I had to
Yeah.
wordsmith it again and keep going and going. Whereas you can literally take your winning copy now, give it to ChatGPT, and it will spit out loads of variations, which then you can plug into, say, Facebook ads and test. So saves me a lot of time, using it in that purpose.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, that aspect is absolutely key as well. It acts like, It acts like a very obedient virtual assistant or like executive assistant to be like, hey, could you retype this? Could you format this for this? Could you look for these kind of things? Could you parse it out into different sections? Could you create variations of this? Could you write it a little more professionally? Could you write it more casually? Could you give me a different wording for this? It drops the ball in a lot of areas as well. So the other day I was working on, I forget the context for this, but I was asking it to get me some kind of float plane joke, you know, planes that land on floats, they land on the water. And I was like, tell me some float plane jokes. And they were so bad, like all of them. I was like, none of these are funny. And I was like trying this and trying that. So when it comes to float plane jokes, it still drops the ball, but otherwise, yeah, no, it's an absolute beast. And I think especially when you compare or when you use that ability to have it spit out like a ton of different variations, and then you combine it with, again, shockingly, more AI software, like the Google Ads algorithm, the Facebook Ads algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, the split testing that we do. And now you've got these two machines kind of like working hand in hand to be like, hey, here's 10 different potential call to actions. And then what I'll do often as well is, and this is more just for giggles, is be like, hey, ChatGPT, of these 10 call to actions, which one do you think is going to perform best? And then it'll give me the top winner. What's the second? What's the third? Can you rank these? Can you tell me why you think they're going to perform better? Now, again, I think I've got a bit of an unfair advantage still just based on experience and the technology being good, but it's getting so close, like so close, that I would argue, unless you're a true marketing nerd that just lives and eats and breathes and does this stuff, like you're going to get 99% of the way there with ChatGPT. And then of course, go in and polish it and make sure that it makes sense and do all these things. But it's good.
Yeah, I think when we first started using it, it was like you would give it, or you'd give it a prompt and it would write something for you, and then you were like, a lot of people, and I saw my Facebook news feed just light up, and a lot of people were just taking what ChatGPT said
Yeah.
and putting it on their Facebook posts, and I was like,
Yes.
that's written with ChatGPT, that's written with, and you could just
Yes.
tell. Now it's got better, but I still say to a lot of people, especially kind of the students in our agency accelerator program, like, make sure to wordsmith it, make sure to put your own personality in there, make sure to change words, like, especially for me, like if I put a post out there and everything's got like, you know, optimize has got a Z in it, it knows that it's been written by ChatGPT because we use S in the UK. So there's a lot of things nuanced with it.
A Z for the UK and Canada, a Z for the
Z,
US.
there you go. Yeah. So I do think you have to wordsmith it and obviously polish it, make it your own. Because again, that's what you want to do. You want to get your personality out there. You don't just want to be another ChatGPT robot. So
Yeah, I think that's a good point there too, Dave. Is like we can use this as a tool, and it does help to overcome, say, writer's block, and yeah, I think it's funny now thinking back to my uses of it. Probably the most practical thing that I use it for is I'll write something out in a paragraph, and I'll be like, can you make this more succinct? Can you make this shorter? Can you make this more clear? And like, I don't know, half the time I'm going to like take what it says, and the other half I'm going to tweak it a bit more, but it will give me a different angle. The other thing is don't be afraid to train it as well. So you can train it two ways. Number one is like you can actually go in there and enter your information that you need. You can upload documents. You can create your own GPT. Like all of these things are very simple to do. They sound super nerdy and complicated, but they're literally click a button, upload a Google Doc, and do it. The second thing you can do is just have a conversation with it. Not in a creepy way, but in like if it writes you a post, you can be like, yeah, no, it's too long, too short, too funny, not funny enough. Try this, try that. Make it sound more like Adam, make it sound more like this, make it whatever it is. And it will go and it'll fix it and it'll try. And at the very least, what you can do is like, say you're just drawing blanks and this thing's not working at all. You can ask it to analyze itself. You'll be like, hey, based on what you just wrote, what is the style? What is the tone? How would you describe this writing? And then it'll explain it. And then you can be like, cool, I liked none of that, or I liked this part, or make this more like this. And again, like very quickly, it'll go back. So again, I sort of think of it as like this this virtual assistant that you're going to have to provide a lot of feedback and stuff for, but it's just going to crank stuff out like thousands of words of content violently fast.
Sounds like you're going to have an angry ChatGPT, especially when you're asking it to question itself and then give you
So
a better
mad.
version.
I'm sending it into like this existential crisis. My GPTs are always questioning me and then they cry and I get the sad emoji. Actually, it's funny, dude. On that note, I got a question of like why I always say please. So when I'm talking to like ChatGPT, I was like, hey, ChatGPT, can you please write me this? Could you please do that? Thank you. And why I'm always being so polite. And I said, there's always two reasons. One of which is I'm Canadian. And so just polite by nature. It's just sort of how it's bred into us. The second thing is, just in case the robots ever take over the world and put us all in a people zoo, and I'd like to think that they'll remember me as one of the nice guys. They're like, Adam was polite. Well, we'll let him live.
You're building up credits.
That's it, exactly. AI credits for the inevitable robot apocalypse.
I love it. So I think, yeah, I mean, with ChatGPT, obviously OpenAI was behind it. That OpenAI releasing ChatGPT really opened up the doors to like a lot more software, and the amount of .AIs that I saw were born after when OpenAI released ChatGPT. There was a lot, and there's a lot of people saying that they use AI, and there's lots of different elements of AI. I think one that I found recently, which I shared with you the other day, was I think it's called Get Recall, and it basically summarizes videos for me, and it's amazing. Like you sent me a 3-hour long video on cold email outreach, and I was like, don't have time right now. I'm going to watch this on 1.5 speed, so it'll be 1.5 hours, but I want to see the key points of it. Put it into Get Recall, and it gave me and summarized everything to the key points, which I think in a world where we've got so much going on and there's so much to do, I think that's really good for me. I can summarize things, read through it quickly, and then also skip to that part in the video and rewatch it. So that's one that I really use. Is there anything that you use that isn't ChatGPT? Is there any AI that you would be like, this is amazing?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I use Recut a lot still. So we've got like amazing editors, and they do a fantastic job. Sometimes I just need something like super quick, and I've got to get it out there. And what Recut does is I can record a video, and I'm not sure how this is almost, again, the lines of like AI versus just software and versus what is what are kind of blurry here. But what it does is it finds all the silences in the video, and it just like automatically trims them out. So you end up with like this completely edited video. So I could take like 10 minutes, and there could be some like rambling, incoherent parts where I'm going off on a tangent. Just like click and delete and click and delete. Descript also does this. You can edit by text. So you can like find, I don't know, say you say something that's not either right or doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You want to rephrase, you can just delete the text. So that works really well. But there is a funny point that you mentioned that I think I want to bring up, that it plagues me. It sort of like haunts my dreams, which is about like the purpose of learning and why even bother. And I think about this a lot, obviously having 4 young kids, and like, what does their future look like? Because it's just going to look so dramatically different than what my childhood looked like, and what even life looks like now. And I think it's important to do exactly what you said. Like, you get this massive 3-hour video that, let's be honest, we just don't have time to watch right now. So we can summarize and get the key points. But I think what's maybe even more important now, possibly than ever before, is to look back into like the proven fundamentals, the principles, the things that have stood the test of time, and learning them from about as close to original source as you can. So in like business and copywriting, say looking at like Eugene Schwartz from the 60s, and David Ogilvy from the same era, and Collier from time before that, and Gary Halbert, and like all of these great copywriting, marketing minds, and then trying to distill the principles, and then also going through the effort of like going through old, long form, hard copy analog books. They've done a number of studies on this where we actually retain and learn information better when it's from a paper medium than from an actual digital screen. I love my Kindle. I love my iPad. I think they're phenomenal. Anytime I travel, I always have them because I can't bring a stack of books. But like, I simply cannot argue with getting a paperback book and like having a highlighter and a pen and going through, like, that material sticks, especially if you go through it again and again and again. So I think if you want to like really differentiate yourself in this sort of new knowledge economy, information economy, AI economy, it's going to be twofold. Number one of which is you have to learn how to manage and harness AI tools, because they're not going anywhere. Come on. Like, they're always going to be here. And we can Google anything, and we can ChatGPT anything. We can get the answers at like the click of a button, have it instantly. But there's also something about having like really deep domain knowledge in areas and fields that interest you, that are going to provide the fuel, the fodder, the impetus to like then go put in the right searches and to know the right things and to be conversationally fluent in these subjects and areas, that I think is going to provide a level of significant competitive advantage, especially as people sort of like move further away from it. Again, you always want to look at like, when everyone zigs, you want to zag. So if everybody's doing this and they're going, again, short form content, we'll talk about this another day, but it's like the death of society, right? Short form content, just like hijacking our brains, turning them into meth addicts. So it's like, if we can sort of move away from that and into more challenging, hard to grapple with things, and force our synapses to like reform and create new neural networks in our brains. Oh, we're getting weird here, but regardless, that is going to be something that's truly going to pay off in the future. So powerful, but we have to use it both ways.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to be there when you take all your iPads off your kids and give them a Eugene Schwartz book to read on copywriting. I don't think that'll go down too well.
It would be like the ultimate dopamine detox. So it's funny. We had this child counselor years ago, and we were talking about like I was super anti TV like when our first son was born, because I was like, no, he's gonna read and we're gonna make him smart and do all these things. And she's like, it's okay if they watch TV for a bit. And so funny story, he just wouldn't watch TV for like 3 years. I was like, please just watch. Like, give dad a break, man. Just watch it for a bit. The rest of the kids don't have a problem. We have to limit it, but yeah. Parenting 101.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, so an AI that I'm really interested in, I've been watching it for a while. I don't think it's quite there yet. I know High Level have been working on it, but that's conversational AI, because this is a part of a business that, one, is pretty time consuming. Two is we've seen a lot of people use VAs and other people from around the world, and there is somewhat of I think you lose that kind of personal touch in the conversation. We've all had it. We've all had that DM and we're like, this isn't the real person. This is just someone messaging on their behalf. So conversational AI, like, do you think it's there yet? Do you think it's ready, or do you think there still needs to be work done on it?
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. I love conversational AI. I think for anybody listening, watching that's not familiar with it, essentially what it is a smarter version of like a chatbot. So it's anything that takes place where you would have like an online DM kind of conversation. So you could do it through SMS, you can do it through a DM, like through Instagram DMs or Facebook direct messages. You can do it through a website chat widget. These became actually really popular back in, I think it was like 2017 or 2018. I was at a marketing conference. Man, I wish I could remember which one. It might have been traffic conversion back in like 2017. And the founder of a company called Drift. I hope this is right, but regardless, I believe his name was David Cancel. I don't know how I'm remembering all these random details. Obviously, this was important. He stood up on stage and he said that conversations are the new leads. And I wrote it down. Maybe that's why I'm remembering. It was like a significant emotional point for me, because up till then I'd been like a hardcore direct response marketer. It was like lead gen till I die. I'm like face tattoo, just lead gen, all lead gen. That's it. And he presented and then proved a really solid case of like, yeah, you can generate leads, but it's actually the engagement with the leads, it's the conversation with the leads. We can talk about speed to lead in a little bit and why this is where conversational AI reigns supreme. But it was a writer downer. And I think what ends up happening is that we didn't fully understand it at the time, how powerful it was. And then chat widgets like ManyChat kind of exploded onto the scene, and we started switching most of our strategies away from like traditional conversion-based ads towards a lot of messenger ads, using ManyChat, nurturing them. We still do a little bit actually, but this conversation aspect really became powerful. And before, what we had to do is we had to think of literally every single possible potential area this conversation would go in and then create a response for it. And it was the most ludicrous, ridiculous thing we ever did. You ever see those ManyChat trees like that we used to make back in the day, where it was like, if they say this, say this, they say this, click this button, and it would just go and there'd be like 8 billion potential things. And someone would ask a random question and the whole thing would just like implode on itself. So conversational AI can look for intent, and they can look for signals, and it can be trained, and it can be trained very quickly. Like what we do now with conversational AI, especially in High Level, is we'll create a bot. We'll either put in the link to a website, or we'll upload a Google Doc, which is my preference. So I'll actually go through a website and we'll like download all the content, put it in a Google Doc. Then we put that in there, and then we'll start asking it random questions, and we can actually train it. So it's like, if it gives a response that we don't like, we'll say thumbs down, we'll put in the right response, and it will answer anything. Now, that was a whole lot of stuff. One more final point, and I think I may have gone way off tangent, but the thing with conversational AI, and where I think it's super powerful right now, is A, speed to lead, so that we can actually get a response to someone, and B, not hiding the fact that it's a friggin' robot. I think that's the big thing, is like what we've been doing is we've been almost overly honest with it and be like, hey, this is the Atom bot. You're chatting with him now, but happy to help. Let me know what you can do. And I'm pretty smart and I can hopefully point you in the right direction. And people love it. What they don't love is, like you said before, you're chatting with this AI. It's like, hello, this is Atom. I am here. How may I? And it was, what is going on? So pass the mic.
Yeah, no, it is interesting because I think for a lot of time I thought about that, like, oh, when a lead comes in, they're not going to want to speak to someone from AI. But again, we speak about this a lot, and we speak about touch points in marketing, and like you said, conversations with the new leads, because someone's not just going to literally come onto a chat and say, hey, I want to buy from you. They've probably got questions, and I think with AI we can feed it the answers to those questions. We can then almost warm that lead up, answering those questions for them, and then when they're ready, we can offer them a call. And then we've already kind of built that rapport and built kind of giving them some answers to the questions they've got before the call. And then obviously someone from the sales team or from your team can get on and have a conversation with someone. So I think, yeah, it is super powerful in that sense, and really can help kind of nurture leads before getting to that call. Because before that, it was just, email, we didn't really send SMS. That's kind of become a new thing as well. So definitely think it's going to get more and more popular, and I think a lot of the softwares are getting smarter with it, because like you said, there's so many times, like especially in ManyChat, it got tripped up and then
Yeah.
you ended up kind of going in circles and it was asking the same question. You're like, okay, I've definitely lost this lead now. This person's not going to be a client.
Yeah. Not only that, but now they're mad. They're as mad as my chat GPT at me because I keep putting it down and telling it it's doing a terrible job. How to parent your GPT. No, I think that's spot on, dude. I think the other thing is that speed to lead aspect is obviously important. That, like, I mean, everyone knows the studies, right? Like, if you don't get back to the lead within 5 minutes, it's lost, and then it goes down by like 60%, and then 80%, then whatever it is. And so many business owners, marketing agency owners included, just do not respond to leads in a timely fashion. I think the other side is, and this is something that I've preached for as long as I've been doing this, is that you want to always be communicating with your prospects, with your clients, with your potential customers in the form and the medium of their choosing. Full stop. So a lot of people are like, well, should I use call? Should I use email? Should I use SMS? Should I use direct message? Should I use Facebook? Should I use Instagram? I was like, this is the wrong question to ask. The right question is, what do they want to do? I had a client before. So many clients have gone through this exact example, but I'm thinking of a recent one that did art classes of all things through online education. Fantastic company. And I asked them, I was like, how are you booking your clients? How are you doing these things? And they're like, well, we think people call. I was like, can you track that for me? Because they weren't tracking this, which most people aren't. Another good opportunity for you as a marketer. And what we found out is that the vast majority, like 90% of them, were booking an appointment directly through a calendar after filling out like a form. Like, nobody was calling, but they thought everyone was calling. So we just basically switched all of the call to actions and all of the everything else. We made the call available for the 10% of people that wanted, but we highlighted the actual book now, fill out the survey, do the thing that people actually wanted. And I think the beauty of conversational AI, and I don't know if this is it's a side of society going off a cliff, but like sometimes we just don't want to talk to people, right? Like, if you think about why, like, offering someone to book a strategy call or book a sales call is one of the hardest things to get someone to convert for, it's because they often know that, yes, this is going to be a call where I'm probably going to have to give some information and I'm going to be asked to make a decision. I'm scared they might use some tactics or things like, I don't know what I really want. I'm just trying to get some information. And conversational AI removes that because, like, A, you're probably not going to get judged by a robot unless it's my chat GPT, and then we judge each other equally. But the second is, like, you can click out, you can bail, you can do all of these things without the social costs associated with having a conversation with someone. So yeah, it's a really just an absolutely amazing tool. It's funny, of all the AI stuff that we talked about today, I think that is certainly the one that we're using the most right now from an actual business perspective. It's also the one that I'm the most excited about. And I think this third element goes hand in hand. It's probably the one that's making us the most money because it's exciting. People like it. It's working really well. And it does allow us to go not only speed to lead by responding, but because of the intent, because of its ability to acknowledge and understand the intent that someone has when they're having a conversation, it can present that booking opportunity. So it can be like, look, based on everything you told me, and this sounds good, and it sounds that, would you like to have a chat with the team? Do you want a little bit more information? I'm happy to set you up with a real live human. We can talk. How does Tuesday at 2 p.m.? How does Friday at 1 p.m.? How does this sound? We can book the time. They can respond Tuesday. We can book it in the calendar. We can follow. That part kind of blows my mind a bit. So
Yeah, and I think that's a huge opportunity for agency owners to offer that as a service. Because if you go and speak to a bricks and mortar, let's say dentist or it's a plumber or a roofer, whoever it is, and you mention conversational AI, their head will probably explode and be like, "What are
Yeah.
you talking about?" So, this is a prime example of a marketing tool that could be installed into one of those businesses and could really increase their lead generation and more importantly their sales. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us as business owners, but also a great tool and a service that agency owners can obviously market and sell as well.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean, it's just like we kind of talked about it really quick, but it's super easy to set up. Like of
Yeah.
all the things that you're going to do as an agency owner, like Facebook ads, that's going to take some work. Like you got to know ads, you got to know how to set it up. Google ads, same deal. SEO, I don't want to call it easy, but it's easier per se because we're going to build some backlinks and some stuff. Conversational AI, man, that stuff is plug and play right now, which means that we're probably sitting on a bit of an opportunity goldmine right now where this opportunity is going to, I don't know, be amazing for like the next 6 to 12 months tops. And then everybody's going to kind of get in on it. And they say marketers ruin everything. Well, that'll be the case. But at least for now, like we can go into the software, we can click conversational AI, we can put in a client's website and or upload a Google Doc, which is my preference. We can choose where we want this to take place, SMS, Facebook, Instagram, a website. If they're brand new to marketing and they're not really sure and a bit sketchy on it, start with a website chat widget. Super simple. You put it in the bottom corner. It's like, hey, I'm your business bot and I'm happy to help you with whatever it is. You train it up a little bit and the thing starts making sales and you look like a hero. It's shocking. It really is.
Yeah, no, it couldn't be easier with the tools, especially high level. That's definitely what we recommend and what we use. So, all right, all things AI, I think we've wrapped it up. That covers pretty much everything that we can talk on AI today. Otherwise, this would be probably 10 hours long. So,
That's it. No, that's all I feel that I'm qualified to talk on. I think anybody that's trying to make predictions about the future, we talked about this actually just before, is anybody that's trying to make predictions of where it's going. Well, it's increasing at such an exponential rate that it's, in my view, it's probably next to impossible to predict like where it's going. The best advice is to take a look at where it's at right now and then to filter that through, again, those proven fundamentals. It's like, what are the things that we're always going to need as business owners, as marketers, as agents, and then how can we leverage the tools that are available right now to deliver those results? And then really try to like keep some of the blinders on because some of it's really cool to play with and it's really fun, but it doesn't have like a direct ROI, return on investment aspect or capability yet. So I've always kind of been a bit of a slow adopter when it comes to these technologies because I like other people to go into the field and take all the arrows for me and test it all and let me know what works and let me know what doesn't. And then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to pick the very best parts and then I'm going to use it and we're going to get all of the benefits with like none of the downsides. So yes, final word. Thank you to the robots that are listening now. Be kind. We
please and
appreciate
thank you.
you and all you're doing for us in society.
Yeah, awesome. Right, guys, it's a wrap, and we'll see you next time for the podcast.
Sounds good, buddy. Talk soon.
See ya.